Hey there, Erotica fan. Thanks for stopping by. You've made a great selection, and I just know you're gonna love this one. We're loading up your story now, and soon you'll be enjoying some fantastically sexy storytelling. But before this story gets you all hot and bothered, and trust me, it will, you should jot down this code, EROTIC50. No, it's not my phone number. Sorry. It's a special offer code from our friends at adamandeve.com. AdamandEve.com are the #1 suppliers of adult toys and all kinds of sexy goodies. And with the code EROTIC50, you'll get 50% off almost any single item, plus free shipping on your entire order. Just enter the code at the checkout, and you're set. Pretty awesome, huh? And speaking of awesome, your sexy story is now loaded and ready to go. Hold on tight.
Katerina, a fantasy of wild, dark hair, glittering green eyes, and ass-kicking heels, leading to round hips and curvy ass, walked up to Alec at a trendy, busy bar in Los Angeles. Her lovely breast tossed about in a deep V-cut silk top that gave way to a swan-like neck of soft alabaster. She opened her luscious mouth, saying, "I don't really see what all the fuss over you is about. You're not as hot as all my friends seem to think you are." As she talked, she twisted a strand of that long, dark hair around her finger. It was almost as though she was twisting him around her finger, as he fell under her charm. "I mean, you have a nice body. Your arms look defined, your jaw is strong, and your eyes really are a piercing blue. But I'm just not one to fall for a guy who looks like, when he isn't out splitting wood at an expensive ski lodge, he's walking the catwalks of Paris and New York in the latest couture." As Katerina said all this, she ran a finger down his merino wool and cashmere blend sweater, along his firmly muscled arm, where she ended by tapping a well-shaped fingernail on his titanium Cartier. Alec hung on her every word. "But I told my friends, see them over there?" She pointed back to a group of hot, sexy women. "I told them I would give you the benefit of the doubt, and, after you bought me a drink, I would let you wow me with your sparkling conversation, proving them right and me wrong." "Pardon?" was all he managed, but at least it sounded more cultured than, "Huh?" So much for sparkling wit, Alec thought as he leaned in to try to catch the elusive scent of musk and lavender that swirled about her with her hair. "A dirty martini?" is how she responded. Then she turned him around, physically, and pushed him towards the bar with a little finger wave and a pointed look at her own watch. You may be wondering what he did. Well, he stumbled almost drunkenly, though he'd had nothing but club soda, over to the bar and bought her a dirty martini. What else was he supposed to do? Intense and possibly a little crazy, she was also incredibly sexy and clearly aggressive, intelligent, and not afraid to go get what she wants. It is very difficult to find that combination. It is nearly impossible to do so in a bar. It is 1,000,000,000 times 1,000,000,000 to 1 to do so in a bar in Los Angeles. Yet, here she was. There was no way he was going to let this opportunity slip by. "Give me something to clear my head, and be quick before she disappears back into this thin, pointless air that you breathe down here in L.A., he said, holding out a 50 to get the attention of the busy bartender. "What did you have in mind?" the bartender asked, taking the 50 before it too evaporated, as Alec feared Katerina might once his back had turned. Pointing over his shoulder, the bartender easily picked out the Mirage, impatiently tapping her toes, who was waiting for Alec. And he nodded. Whatever the bartender mixed up for Alec, it was on fire, made his eyes water and nose run, cleared up his sinuses, made his hair tingle, and almost knocked him off his feet. It was one powerful elixir. Asking for a beer chaser, Alec got Katerina a very dirty martini and walked back to where she stood. In that wild, hectic bar crowd, she was like an oasis. People parted to make way for him as he walked back to her. Up close, Katerina's eyes were a mixed green with orange speckles. Her hair had streaks of light mixed in with the velvety blackness of it, and she was wearing a lace and silk camisole under her top, letting her breasts sway freely. She rolled her eyes at the music and the crowd, then suggested Alex should procure a quiet table. The place was packed, and he didn't think there was any possibility of finding a table, but the look on her face and the way her body vibrated just standing there made it clear he should do his damnedest. Walking to the quietest corner in the place, Alec bought the table from the guy and girl sitting there. The girl was unhappy, but clearly her companion felt that a $100 bill was worth more to him than her happiness that evening. Alec escorted his bewitching beauty to the table, pulled out her chair, then sat down, holding his breath to see what next impossible task she would set in his way. She took a sip, licked those incredible lips, and then just sat there, watching him, obviously waiting. She made him really nervous, and he was having a tough time thinking at all around her. Finally, it dawned on Alec that he was meant to wow her with his wit and conversation, and that if he didn't begin soon, he'd be sitting at his $100 table, all alone, kicking the shit out of himself. So he began. In French. Alec is from southern France, and his family owns a winery, or two. He lives part of the time in France and part of the time wherever he feels. And at the moment, he was feeling like living in Southern California. He was actually doing some work checking out the California wine areas and had decided to enjoy a little bit of Hollywood while on the West Coast. Since he wasn't able to think straight and have an intelligent and witty conversation in English, what with all the blood in his body having abandoned his brain, he resorted to French. It wasn't particularly witty, but he was hoping she didn't speak the language and would just fall for the whole foreign thing. She had, of course, lived in Paris for 4 years as a fashion designer and was fluent. Sadly, her accent was cleaner and purer than his own. His parents would be mortified. He thought he was screwed, but somehow he had managed to impress her simply by being able to understand her, follow her directions, and speak more than one language, even if the gist of what he was saying wasn't particularly inspired. After that evening, and every evening of his 2-week stay in Los Angeles, Alec and Katerina discovered they had much more in common than pure animal physical attraction. Alec's not only always hot for her body, he's absolutely hot for her brain. Katerina's flying back to France to the family estate to meet his parents, in fact. Alec isn't certain what was in that flaming shot the bartender created for him, but to this day, he believes it must have been a love potion, because he's found himself totally spellbound.
Wow, how is that? So hot. So fun. You know what's also hot and fun? Ordering something from adamandeve.com. They're so generous with us in bringing these stories to you, but also helping you out with 50% off almost any item on their site and giving you free shipping. Just enter offer code EROTIC50 at checkout on almost any single item, and you'll see the price go down by half. And shipping is for free. Amazing! EROTIC50 is the code. So don't stop listening to these stories. We love you. I'll be waiting.